I always like stories where you see another woman helming an S&P 500. I'm biased, obviously, but she's important because of the insurance side of her remit, of where she comes from. What does it say about where CVS is going?
Hey, thanks for the call, Caroline. Nice to chat with you today. But yeah, to answer your question, I think it's very, I share your sentiment. It's nice to see Karen take over the reign for CVS. But as I look at the strategy, I think one of the key things for CVS is that they're certainly pivoting from just being a retail pharmacy chain, from being focused primarily in the pharmacy business with their acquisition of Caremark, PBM back in 2008. By acquiring Aetna, it was a clear sign that they were pivoting the strategy to go into healthcare much deeper. And so I think giving Karen the CEO spot is very strategically aligned with what they're trying to do, that this is our key focus now. This is where the industry is going, and we think that we need someone with experience and knowledge base in the healthcare space to run the company. So I think it's a great it's a great promotion for Karen, and I think it'll be great for CVS.
So with regards to the speculation now about where CVS goes as a company, the idea that they move a little bit deeper into being a healthcare provider, potentially, a lot of folks, of course, speculating about the insurance angle of this, given the background of the new CEO. Is there a sense here that CVS is maybe entering into, I guess, a more competitive landscape? Are you concerned here that they are maybe creating a little bit, maybe too much competition for themselves?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? I mean, if you think about it, the base of the strategy is still the fact that CVS owns, almost 10,000 retail stores around the country, and that you are building a healthcare offering off of that footprint, right? So if you think about what they've done over the last few years, adding the Minute Clinic to the offering on the retail side. I mean, before that time, there wasn't really much retail-based, clinic businesses in the U.S. other than your physician's office. So I thought that was a good strategy. And then now they're adding what we call the health hubs, where, we call it jokingly the genius bar of healthcare, right? Where you can get people with chronic diseases, you can get people with sleep apnea. You can basically throw a lot of care delivery and care management beyond just your flu shots and getting checked for strep or the flu at the Minute Clinic, right? So it's still a retail-based strategy. And if you look at that, I mean, there is not a lot of differentiated competition in that space. I know you have you'll have the One Medicals or the Oak Streets of the world, which are care delivery platforms with physicians and nurses, but this is more of a consumer experience, retail-driven strategy centered on healthcare. So I actually think they're differentiated in that regard.
Brian, within your coverage universe, is CVS set up nicely, given the retail footprint that you mentioned, the health insurance services that you mentioned? Can they appropriately take advantage of this pandemic relative to some of the other companies that you like?
No, that's a great point, right? Because I think that what they've shown is that retail actually during the pandemic has played a key role, right? I mean, if you think about testing, CVS has administered 6 million COVID tests already, and they were one of the tools that the government essentially was able to use to accelerate COVID testing. So I think they've cemented their place in the healthcare ecosystem and how important they are. So that's number one. But as I look at to your point, I think that the key topics in healthcare today are consumerism, home or alternative sites of care, and CVS has a footprint there through their core home infusion business. So they've got their toeholds in the areas that matter and are growing in healthcare. So I think they're in a very good position. It's just really a question of getting out of the COVID pandemic to drive demand for the pharmacy side of the business. Seeing what happens with commercial enrollment, their ability on insurance, and then their ability to continue to gain share in the Medicare Advantage side as a demographic shift that's happening in the U.S. Drives enrollment in these Medicare Advantage plans as we get more seniors.